What is all this nonsense I'm hearing on the internet about stopping the John Boehner scam?
The reason you are hearing this is because Americans are finally close to actually getting a voice in Congress, and the powerful elite don't want that to happen.
Why not?
They want us to go the way of Rome. They do not want you to get rid of the Federal Reserve System and have accountability in monetary policy, and if Ron Paul wins the monetary subcommittee chair, the banks will be running scared.
Why would they be scared?
Well, for one thing, Ron Paul wants to audit Fort Knox and the Federal Reserve and take back the political power from the elite bankers who hired the bot and paid for Congress.
Is that why today in Bloomberg News there was an article indicating that 5 GOP leadership aides, speaking anonymously because a decision isn't final, saying coming House Speaker John Boehner has discussed ways to prevent Paul from becoming chairman or to keep him on a tight leash if he does?
When you are the Federal Reserve, it is very easy to get things done, because you control both parties, Republicans and Democrats, through campaign contributions and economic hostage situations like the 2008 banker bailout, where the wealth of the United States was borrowed to provide non-U.S. banks massive amounts of capital. The turnaround, and use fractional reserve lending to inflation their profits, getting 10 times their deposited amount alone. This is what helped the Federal Reserve to create record profits on your taxpayer dollars. The Federal Reserve earned $45 billion in 2009.
So you're telling me the Federal Reserve took taxpayers' money and loaned it to international banks, profited by $45 billion, and we still need to pay the balance due?
That is exactly right. We are totally screwed. Not to mention, because of bubbles burning, we are totally fucked when it comes to inflation and our purchasing power. Did you see that oil closed over $90 a barrel and gold prices closed about $1,400?
I did see that. I think we really need to educate the average person on the Federal Reserve and the price manipulation scheme through banks like Bank of America, Goldman Sachs and JP Chase.
You are exactly right. The consolidation of corporate interest and government interest is known as fascism. We can see that this is a fascist regime for two reasons. Number one, the Federal Reserve opened up direct lending to non-financial businesses. General Electric, Caterpillar, Harley-Davidson, McDonald's, and Verizon all took advantage of the program. Number two, the Federal Reserve banks dried up the liquidity in the credit markets, crippling small business and the middle class, while provided 0% loans to the global conglomerates who have recorded record profits in 2010, while Main Street is dramatically unemployed and real wage growth has declined dramatically when compared to real inflation figures.
What do you mean real inflation figures? I thought the government told us we don't have inflation, and that deflation is the concern.
You can't trust the numbers you get from the government, especially the jobs numbers and inflation numbers.
Why can't I trust the numbers?
They changed the calculation of the unemployment number by changing the formula for the seasonality adjustment. They changed inflation, so it was X energy and X food, you know, the two things that have been going up like crazy.
All this time I thought the economy was doing really well, and that unemployment was going down, and inflation was very low.
It's hard to know what's really going on with all the propaganda you see on TV. According to Shadow Stats, the real unemployment rate is 23% as of November.
What you are telling me sounds like something illegal that Bernie Madoff would do.
If you or I used the bullshit accounting standards that the United States government and Federal Reserve use, we would go to jail. Ron Paul knows this, and is working to bring real change, not some catchy slogan used by the media to manipulate to create the greatest lie in American history. Did you know that 80% of university economists are on the Federal Reserve's payroll? I think you get fired if you are not touting the company line of more bailouts and more power for the Federal Reserve.
I have listened to Ron Paul, and he knows a great deal about how money works and the illegal creation of the Federal Reserve late Christmas Eve 1913. I hope he gets control of some of the finances of the country to help undo all the crap he thinks Barney Frank has done to this once great nation.
I will be calling John Boehner's office at 20222256205, and I will tell him that Ron Paul must chair the House Monetary Subcommittee or Republicans must pay the price.